He threw back the covers and sat up on his bed, his feet feeling along the cold floor for his house slippers, the telephone ringing insistently, a little distance away. What was the doctor doing when the telephone rang? Sleeping? He was watching TV? He was reading a book? He was walking. Okay, right answer is he was sleeping. He turned on the light and walked to the phone and took down the receiver. This is Dr. Benson, he said. Who answered the phone? Dr. Benson's wife? Dr. Benson? Dr. Benson's assistant? A nurse. Answer B. Dr. Benson. The November wind was bringing sounds of winter as it blew around the little white house. What month was it? A. December, B. November, C. January, D. February. Answer B. November. The doctor got into his clothes. What was the doctor doing? Taking a shower, getting dressed, eating breakfast, watching TV. Getting dressed. He went to the table and stared a moment at his watch, his spirit complaining at the job ahead of him. What time was it? 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Answer B. 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. His mind also complained at the horrible hour, and he wondered why children had to be born at such improper times. Why was the doctor complaining? Because he was tired, because it was a horrible hour, because he had to go to work, because he didn't like children. Answer B. Because it was a horrible hour. He took up two small handbags. The short pill bag, as the people of the town knew it, and the long obstacle case, the baby bag they called it. What did the doctor take with him? A stethoscope and a thermometer, two small handbags, a medical book, a first aid kit. Answer B. Two small handbags. Dr. Benson stopped a moment to light leave, then put the pack of cigarettes in his overcoat pocket. What did the doctor do before leaving? He locked the door. He turned off the lights. He lit a cigarette. He checked his phone. He lit a cigarette. The wind felt like a surgeon's knife at his face as he opened the door and ran, bending low around the driveway to the garage. How did the wind feel to the doctor? Warm and gentle, cold and refreshing, like a surgeon's knife, like a soft breeze, like a surgeon's knife. His car started with difficulty, coughed half a dozen times as he drove down the driveway, but then began to run more smoothly as he turned down Grass Street and onto the deserted highway. What problem did the doctor's car have? It wouldn't stop. It wouldn't start. It started with difficulty. It was out of gas. It started with difficulty. Mrs. Otsoli, who Dr. Benson was on his way to visit, already had almost a dozen children, but it seemed to the doctor that never once had she had a baby in good weather, nor in daylight. How many children did Mrs. Otsoli have? Almost a dozen, exactly a dozen, less than a dozen, more than a dozen. Answer A, almost a dozen. And while Dr. Benson was a country doctor, he was still a young man and couldn't find the pleasure that his father, the old Dr. Benson, had found in seeing Ott. The father, always 2 or 3 babies behind in payment of his baby bills. What was Dr. Benson's age? Old, middle-aged, young, not specified. Answer C. Young. Say whether the following statements are true or false. The doctor in the story was an elderly man. Yes, it is false. His father had been a country doctor too. True. The doctor liked late night calls. False. The doctor carried 2 bags on his visits. True. Mrs. Ott Solly was having her first baby. False. Answer the question briefly. At what time did Dr. Benson receive a call? 2 o'clock. Who did he visit? Why? Mrs. Solly to deliver her baby. What did the doctor carry in his bags? Pills and surgical things, treatments. Did the doctor receive prompt payment? How do you know? No. Previous bills were pending payment. It was a long ride to the Solly farm and the sight of a man walking alone along the country road, as seen just ahead by the lights of the car, was a welcome relief to the doctor. Where was the doctor headed? Detroit, Solly farm, hospital, home. Yes, answer B, Solly farm. He slowed down and looked at the man walking along with difficulty against the wind, a little package under his arm. What was the man carrying? A suitcase, a little package, a bag, a briefcase. A little package. Coming alongside, Dr. Benson stopped and invited the man to ride. What did Dr. Benson do? He drove past the man. He stopped and invited the man to ride. He honked the horn. He rolled down the window. Answer B. He stopped and invited the man to ride. What did the man do? He declined the offer. He got in. He asked for directions. He walked away. Option B. He got in. Are you going far? Asked the doctor. Who asked the question? The man, Dr. Benson, Mrs. Sorley, Mr. Sorley. Answer B. Dr. Benson. I am going all the way to Detroit, said the man, a rather thin man with small black eyes filled with tears from the wind. Where was the man headed? Solely Farm, Detroit, hospital, home. Answer B. Detroit. Could you give me a cigarette? Dr. Benson unbuttoned his coat, then remembered the cigarette in the outer pocket of his overcoat. What did the man ask for? A match, a cigarette, a ride, directions. Option B, a cigarette. He took out the packet. He took out the packet and gave it to the rider, who then looked in his own pockets for a match. What did Dr. Benson give to the man? A match, a cigarette packet, a ride, directions. Option B, a cigarette packet. When the cigarette was lighted, the man held the packet a moment, then asked, "Do you mind, mister, if I take another cigarette for later?" What did the man ask to take? A match, another cigarette, the car keys, the doctor's wallet. Answer B, another cigarette. The rider shook the packet to remove another cigarette without waiting for the doctor to answer. What did the man do without waiting for doctor's answer? He took another cigarette. He gave the packet back. He lighted another cigarette. He thanked the doctor. Option A. He took another cigarette. Dr. Benson felt a hand touch his pocket. What did Dr. Benson feel? A hand touch his shoulder, a hand touch his pocket, a tap on his back, a push on his arm. Answer B. A hand touch his pocket. I will put them back in your pocket, the little fellow said. What did the man offer to do? Put the cigarettes back in the pocket, put the cigarettes back in the doctor's pocket, light another cigarette, give the packet back. Option B. Put the cigarettes back in the doctor's pocket. Dr. Benson put his hand down quickly to receive the cigarettes and was a little irritated to find them already in his pocket. How did the Dr. Benson feel? Relieved, irritated, happy, surprised. Answer B. Irritated. A few minutes later, Dr. Benson said, "So you are going to Detroit?" Who spoke after a few minutes? The man, Dr. Benson, Mrs. Sorley, Mr. Solly. B. Dr. Benson. I am going out to look for work in one of the automobile plants. What was the man going to do in Detroit? Visit friends, look for work, attend a conference, go on vacation. The right answer is look for a work. Look for work. Say whether the following statements are true or false. A man asked the doctor for a lift in his car. True or false? True. The man was crying because he badly wanted a cigarette. It's false. Evans was now working as a mechanic in an automobile plant. False. The doctor offered him 2 cigarettes. False. Evans had been an ambulance driver in the army. That is true. Dr. Benson moved his hand very slowly and very carefully below the seat until he felt the leather holster in which he always carried with him his automatic pistol. What was Dr. Benson feeling for below the seat? A first aid kit, a flashlight, a leather holster, a map. The right option is a leather holster. He drew out the pistol slowly and held it in the darkness at his side. What did Dr. Benson draw out slowly? A cigarette, a pistol, a knife, a phone. A pistol. Dr. Benson stopped the car quickly and pushed the nose of his gun into Evan's side. What did Dr. Benson push into Evan's side? A cigarette, a phone, the nose of his gun, a map. Yeah, right answer is the nose of his gun. The rider jumped with fear and put up his hands quickly. My God, mister, he whispered, I thought you. How did Evans react when the Dr. Benson pushed the gun into his side? He laughed. He jumped with fear. He got angry. He remained calm. He jumped with fear. Dr. Benson pushed the pistol still deeper into the man's side and repeated coldly, put that watch in my pocket before I let this gun go off. What did Dr. Benson ask Evans to do? Give him his wallet, put the watch in his pocket, get out of the car, drive the car. Put the watch in his pocket. Evans put his hand in his own vest pocket and later, with the trembling hands, tried to put the watch into the doctor's pocket. How did Evans' hands move when he tried to put the watch in Dr. Benson's pocket? Steadily, quickly, tremblingly, slowly. Option C, tremblingly. With his free hand, Dr. Benson pushed the watch down into his pocket. What did Benson do with his free hand? He held the gun. He pushed the watch down into his pocket. He opened the door. He started the car. He pushed the watch down into his pocket. He opened the door and forced the man out of the car. What did Dr. Benson do to Evans? He asked him to stay. He forced him out of the car. He gave him a ride. He walked to him. He forced him out of the car. I am out here tonight, probably to save a woman's life, but I took time out to try to help you, he said the man angrily. Why was Dr. Benson angry with Evans? Because Evans was lost, because Evans was hurt, because Evans stole his watch, because Evans was ungrateful, because Evans stole his watch. Dr. Benson started the car quickly and the wind closed the door with a loud noise. What happened to the car door? It remained opened. It closed slowly. The wind closed it with a loud noise. Dr. Benson closed it. Answer C. The wind closed it with a loud noise. He put the pistol back into the leather holster under the seat and hurried on. What did Dr. Benson do with the pistol? He kept it in his hand. He put it back in his holster. He gave it to Evans. He threw it away. The answer is he put it back in the holster. The drive up the mountain to the Solly farm was less difficult than he had a farmhouse. And Old Solly had sent one of his older boys down the road with a lantern to help him across the old wooden bridge that led up to the little farmhouse. Who helped the Dr. Benson cross the old wooden bridge? Old Solly, one of the Old Solly's older boys, Mrs. Solly, Evans. The right option is one of the Old Solly's older boys. Why did Mrs. Solly deliver the child with little difficulty? Because Dr. Benson assisted her, because she had many previous experiences with childbirth, because the child was premature, because she had medical complications, because she had many previous experiences with childbirth. What was not needed during the delivery? Dr. Benson's medical expertise, the instruments in the long back, Mrs. Solly's cooperation, or Solly's assistance. The right answer is the instruments in the long back. Why did the doctor reach for his pistol? What did he do with it? What was Evans' reaction? What did he do? Why did the doctor turn Evans out of his car? Where was the Solly farm? Who helped him reach it? Did the doctor have any difficulty with his patient? How do you know? How do you know the doctor was relaxed after the baby was born? What was the doctor right in turning Evans out in the cold? What did the doctor do to Evans? He gave him a ride. He turned him out of the cold. He took him to the hospital. He gave him food. Answer B. He turned him out of the cold. Do you think he will ever know whether he was right or wrong? What is uncertain about the doctor's actions? Option A. Whether he was right or wrong. Option B. Whether Evans was guilty. Option C. Whether the doctor was proud. Option D, whether Ott was smiling. Option A, whether he was right or wrong. Was the case of suspicion justified? What is being questioned about the doctor's action? His bravery, his kindness, his suspicion, his pride. Option C, his suspicion. A fellow I picked up in my car on my way up here tonight tried to be robbed. He said to Ott, feeling a little proud. How did the doctor feel when telling Ott about the incident? Ashamed, scared, proud, angry. C. Option proud. He took my watch, but when I pushed my 45 pistol into his side, he decided to give it to me back. How did the doctor retrieve his watch? He asked Evans to return it. He pushed his pistol into Evans' side. He called the police. He offered the Evans a reward. He pushed his pistol into Evans' side. Ott smiled wide at such an existing story coming from young Dr. Benson. How did Ott react to the doctor's story? He was angry. He was scared. He smiled. He was bored. Answer C. He smiled. Well, I am glad he gave it back to you, Ott said, because if he hadn't, we wouldn't have any idea what time the child was born. Why was Ott glad the doctor got his watch back? Because it was valuable, because it was a gift, because they needed to know the birth time, because the doctor was proud. Option C, because they needed to know the birth time. Dr. Benson took the watch from his pocket. The baby was delivered about 30 minutes ago. The right now is. He walked over to the lamp on the table. What did the Dr. Benson do after Ott's comment? He put the watch away. He took the watch out. He smiled. He sat down. The answer, he took the watch out. He stared strangely at the watch in his hand. The crystal was cracked. The stop was broken. He turned the watch over and held it closer to the lamp. What was the unusual about the watch? It was new. It was expensive. It was broken. It was old. It was broken. He studied the worn inscription there. To Private T. Evans, ambulance section, whose personal bravery preserved our lives the night of November 3, 1943, near the Italian front. Nurses Nesbitt, Jones, and Winkett. E. Wallace. What was inscribed on the watch? A message from the doctor, a message from Ott, a message about Private T. Evans' bravery, a message about the doctor's pride. A message about Private T. Evans' bravery. Refer to the words in the passage that show Dr. Benson felt he was justified in turning Evans out. A fellow I picked up. Give it to me back. Why was Mrs. Sawley happy that Dr. Benson got back his watch? Would be able to learn the time the baby was born. How did the doctor realize that he was not looking at his own watch? The inscription on the watch cried Evans' name. Not cried, carried. What information did the inscription give about Evans? That he was actually being truthful. Vocabulary enrichment. Fill in the blanks using the correct forms of the phrasal verbs given in the box. A very wise person. A little money for a rainy day. Answer is put by. Please the fire after you have cooked rice. Put out. The meeting was as the chairman was not well. Put off. Place the dictionary on the top shelf after you have looked up the meaning of the words. Put back. Your cardigan, as it is called. Put on. The team, a great performance. Put up. Thank you.